I'm pretty good. Looks like we got the new system sort of figured out, so that's good.
Nice, nice. Iron out the kinks.
Yep. I'm sure we'll find out from the viewers that there's something we're doing wrong. But right now, it looks really smooth and semi-professional, except for the part where I'm talking about how professional we are.
Yeah, that's not classy.
Yeah, it's not so
You want to
classy.
let them say it.
Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. We are excited to see you on a Tuesday. This is one of our extra shows. I just want to make sure that we're actually broadcasting right now, because we should be, but I don't know if people can see us. Can everybody see us? Okay, it looks like they can. Excellent, cool. I'm all, yeah, there we go. Cool, people can see us. They're complimenting on us on our suits. So unless they're just assuming what our suits look like. What's that?
We both went kind of a gray today, or is yours more of a beige?
I think it's kind of beigey, yeah. It's more of a, I don't know, like a teal or something, yeah.
Okay, nice, nice.
So tonight we're going to chat with you about whatever you want us to talk about, but we're going to have kind of a main topic, which is, this is the thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, because things have been shifting a lot in the landscape of streaming television. So I want to talk tonight about streaming TV, and particularly whether it's better, like the pros and cons between something being posted all at once, like a whole season, like Netflix, Marvel was always doing, and a lot of Netflix shows in general, like Stranger Things and things like that, and the model that more places are going to now, I think even Netflix is doing this some, although I'm not sure. They seem to still be very often sticking to the throw everything up at once model, but like Hulu now most of the time, Amazon most of the time, it's Disney Plus with Mandalorian, it's every week you get an episode, and I want to talk about the pros and cons and whether we prefer one over the other, and also why companies have shifted to that and all of that. So that's the main thing I want to talk about tonight. So we can make this mostly a show about streaming television and about those subscription services, or we can talk about anything else you guys want to talk about. I was seeing a lot of interesting unrelated random questions there in the comments that hopefully some of those will come up as we go along. So I'm excited to talk to you guys as always. Thanks a bunch for popping in. If you want to make sure that a question or comment is talked about here on the Captain Logan Show on air, you can, if you're watching live right now, you have to be watching live for this to work, otherwise it makes no sense. You can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will guarantee that your topic gets discussed. And if you don't want to do that, or you can't do that, thanks a bunch for being here, and don't feel left out. We will get to as many pre-written things as humanly possible. We're going to chat with you for at least an hour, might go longer depending on what the super chat situation is looking like. So let's go ahead and just start getting right into things. So just right away, I want to pick DJ's brain about this, because this is sort of like an old school GNN topic. So I kind of just want to bounce off of you, DJ, and talk about this for a minute amongst ourselves, and we'll include you guys here in just a minute. By the way, once again, welcome everybody. I see lots of folks there in the comments. There's Jedi Knight, there's Azim, Daniel Davis is here, William Parcell, Blue Dragon 5, Stussy is here, Mr. Roboto, unless I said that already, Mutale. Welcome everybody. Thanks so much for popping in. Okay, so DJ, generally speaking, do you have a preference between those two models?
I would say that 2020 DJ would have a very different answer probably than like college DJ, I think.
Interesting.
I think, and this wasn't really happening 5 years ago when I was in college. I guess I was just getting started. But if in college, I would have much preferred, and when I had more time is basically what I mean by that, probably the binge watching thing. But now I am lucky if I can get one episode a week, much less one a night. So I think right now I would much prefer the Mandalorian kind of method, where Game of Thrones, like just drop it for one week, and not necessarily for the reason that most people have, where they want to talk about the conversation, like be able to, speculate about what's going to happen with, speculate about what's going to happen with all the friends and the internet and stuff. I don't necessarily have that as much, although a little bit now with the Discord, but yeah, I think just for amount of time that I have, just like as many things as I'm trying to do and watch, like, yeah, I think the weekly thing is better for me personally, and also I think it's better for the companies because it keeps things in the zeitgeist much longer. Like Stranger Things used to be huge, but like now when they drop a season, it's like the weekend and then everyone forgets about it. Like you kind of got to keep it out there.
Yeah,
because otherwise people will go through it.
Yeah, you just made about 14 of the points I was going to bring up.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
You asked me.
I'll start at the last thing you said, and then work my way backwards. But yeah, the problem with something dropping all at once, and I think the Marvel shows were having this when those were big. Some, after Daredevil season 1, and we had to have one every like 6 months or so. Is that it's not like movies even where it comes out over a weekend but then stays in a theater, and so people are still talking about it because people are like staggering, like going when they have time to go. What tends to, it's almost like even if it's popular, like if the thing went to the movie theater, was only there for a weekend and made like $1 billion the first weekend, and then nobody went after that. Like that's what it's like. And so nobody's talking about it, but it would be like if nobody's talking about it after those first couple of weeks. And I mean, I used to get so much flack when we would do panel spoiler casts where we would wait 2 weeks to give everybody time to catch up. Like I had guys on that panel that would watch it like over the weekend, and would have been ready for a spoiler cast by Monday or Tuesday, but I didn't want to get out ahead of it like that because I thought it was more reasonable to let the viewers have time to watch it. By the time we actually talked about it, a lot of the comments were even like, this is old news now. And like some people appreciated it, but like a lot of people would watch it like it was opening weekend. And I keep talking about this kind of blurred line that we've got right now that maybe is going to be less blurred the more that we go back to that kind of standard TV model of drop an episode every week, between, movies and television, where a lot of people want to see it immediately so that they don't get anything spoiled for them, or so that, like you suggested, the water cooler conversations, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 hours or 12 hours. It's like, okay, well, a 12-hour movie came out. I'll just make time for that. And so, that's what a lot of people do. A question that I would have for you, DJ, is if you're not so concerned about not having things spoiled for you because you're not really like keeping up too much. You've never really had that problem too much, I don't think. Or like not being able to like talk to people about the the thing like as it's going. Then why would it matter that much to you whether it dropped all at once or week to week? Like you could just wait until it all dropped. Is that really a problem, or is it a matter of, because I've had this with shows, DJ, is it a matter of, if, I had this with like the last season of Breaking Bad, like you will remember more to go ahead and sit down and watch it, or it feels more like you've got the time to do it if it's dropping week to week, because then you go, okay, I can carve out an hour out of my week to make sure that I get this episode watched. Is it more that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm a very regimented person. I think you know this about me. Like, I like my schedule to be really good, and I think this with TV is a more recent thing, because I remember I used to like you said, I used to like to have it all dropped, and then I'm not worried about it getting spoiled because I don't usually go on social media or anything, so I can just kind of watch it at my leisure, like when I feel like it. But now that I watch a lot of stuff, now that I'm married and everything I watch with my wife, it's nice to have like a set time where we can do that every week. And when we had when Watchmen came out, I really got into this kind of weekly something drops, and we've done that with a couple HBO shows now, his Dark Materials too. So yeah, I think that's a recent development, but that's kind of what I like doing right now. Like I said, 2020 DJ, he may change. I don't know.
Yeah, I brought this topic up, by the way, because I'm completely conflicted about it. This is yet another one of those I've got two minds about a thing. Like, I'm just a wishy-washy politician kind of person, apparently. Like, I just can't make my mind up about anything. But no, this is one of those things where I see both sides to this, and I don't think there is a clear-cut, easy answer. I can see personal preferences, but I think both models make a lot of sense. And part of the reason also I want to talk about it is because I keep hearing people on both sides of this acting like one is clearly superior to the other, and I don't think that's true at all. Like the nice thing, so I'll just break down like a couple of major things for me. Like the nice thing, and we've kind of alluded to this, about seeing in episode drop every week. And by the way, it's better than broadcast because usually streaming will have them all made already. So you don't even have to worry about like skipping a week or something. Like there's nothing that would preempt it. Like it's always, you're going to get like 10 or 12, however many, episodes are in a season every single week without interruption. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about like, okay, we had sweeps week and then we take off a week. You know what I mean? There's not that whole thing anymore. So I guess that's nice, but I digress. What you get with getting it every week is it sticks in your brain more because You're not jumping straight to the next episode. And I realize that a lot of people binge watch things even that didn't originally drop like this, right? Like Breaking Bad is like a big binge watch show. Obviously, it wasn't originally dropped that way. And Better Call Saul is like that now too. And, you know, like people did that later on with Dexter and things. Like there's all kinds of things that people binge now that didn't originally come out that way. Lost, people would binge later and then get really disappointed eventually.
And I don't think that show's probably as good. Binging it.
It has been. It actually is.
Oh,
now,
really?
In some ways it is, and in some ways it's not. But I've actually been having a better watch of it than I did last time, as I've been going back through it because I've been watching an episode a day. But that whole section in third season where they're in the cages is so much better if you binge it because it doesn't feel like it takes as long.
That's interesting because
if you're watching that for 10 straight weeks, you're like, oh my god, get out of the friggin' cages. Yeah, it's terrible.
That's funny because I never had a problem with that. Every time you talk Lost, you complain about that, but I binged it for the first time. I never saw it on TV, and I never knew what you were talking about with that. So that makes perfect sense.
Jason and I just shot our video about that, which I will post in a couple weeks because we're ahead on our series. But he didn't either, and he said that's actually one of his favorite parts. Like he really enjoyed the cages.
So I kind of always have too, but I was like, I'll let Cap rant about it.
He was just always like, every time we'd watch an episode, he'd be like, hey Dad, you want a fish biscuit? And it was hilarious. But anyway, so. The point I'm making is it's nice when it comes out once a week and you're actually keeping up with it because you've got that time for each episode to simmer where you're considering what might happen next time. You're thinking about the character dynamics. You're thinking about thematic stuff. Maybe you have time even to watch an episode a second time before you get to the next one. I used to do that with television all the time when I was younger. I'd watch every time Smallville or Enterprise came out. I always watched it twice before the next episode, and that's probably why I know those shows as well as I do. And you don't get that when you binge. And maybe you go back and binge it a second time, and so it will stick with you better, that way if you do that. But, like, there's all that time in between episodes where other people that you've seen it with, you might have been talking about it with them, so your retention is better. Like, that's one of the nice things about that. And it's, as you suggested, it might stay relevant longer because there's a longer time for it to matter as it's on, and there's so much stuff coming out and vying for people's attention that is important right now, because somebody asked earlier. This was a comment I was hoping would come up, and I forget who it was, but I'll go ahead and mention it now because I like this question. Somebody was like, do you think that there are just too many streaming shows? It's like overwhelming. And yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And so I think this helps to maybe mitigate that at least a little bit. So that's one of the things that's nice about that. But then the binging thing, like if it's a show I really care about, and I want to watch it that way, it kind of sucks if I have to wait. So it depends on what the show is. Like, if the ticket dropped that way, I wouldn't have watched it week to week. I would have waited till it was all dropped because that was a really fun show to watch that way. And I had watch parties like for that show. I had people over whenever a season would drop, and we'd all sit down and watch it. And I couldn't do that if it was week to week. So I mean, that's the downside to not having it that way. But I don't think one is necessarily superior to the others. I think it's real. There's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, and like you said, if it drops all at once, that's kind of gives you the most freedom because you can if you have the control to watch one a week still.
And I don't is the thing. Like if I'm really digging a thing, I've got to get right into the next episode. Well, and that's the thing too is you almost got to wonder what the point is of a 12-hour movie being broken up like that if it's all dropping at once. Like, yeah, it would be weird, right, if it was just a timeline of 12 hours instead of breaking it up. But the thing, you go back to things like House of Cards and stuff, and, like, they were always plotted as if it was week to week. Like, they've got, like, a 3-minute intro, and, like, you can skip it if you want to, but, like, I like those, but like, what is the point of that if it's not broadcast? And then you get a cliffhanger that's like, oh man, you're not going to believe what's going to happen next. And it's like, well, in about 5 seconds, I can find out. Like it feels like it's made like for broadcast, but then that's not fair either because books are written that way. You get like crazy chapter cliffhangers that the whole point is to make you want to read on, but it feels like regular episodic television.
Yeah, and oh man, I completely just forgot. I was gonna say something about Daredevil. Dang it! Oh, this always happens when we're on camera. Sorry. Go ahead. I'll think of it.
But I would also suggest this. if we're and like I get the business of it. Hold that thought for a second. I get the business side of it, where like one of the reasons, not just to keep it relevant, like we both suggested, but also streaming services, and it took them too long, honestly, got wise to the fact that people would come in and get a 30-day trial and binge a season of TV that they cared about, and then they'd get out. Or they would pay for it for like 1 month. And if it's every week for 10, 12, 14 weeks, they might be able to hang on to you for 3 months out of the year. So that's a lot of the reason that they're doing it now. I guarantee you that's why Disney's doing it. And so like that's the big business side of it. But I would argue that if it's going to be, besides that whole thing, if it's going to be episodic, I mean episodic drop, I don't mean whether or not the show is serialized. Obviously a show that is, by the way, that is not one story beginning to end, it doesn't make as much sense necessarily to drop all at once, because like some things are designed to have some time between them, you know, like anthology things or like kind of short story shows, that kind of thing. But why not also broadcast on television? Like, at least at some point. You know what I mean? Like, if it's going to drop week to week anyway, why not do both? Why not also air it someplace? I kind of wish we do that.
Yeah,
more.
I don't know. I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's like a rights mess or something. Like, why would...
Well, sometimes it is. Yeah, no, that's
TV
true.
companies want to air their stuff if they're making stuff for streaming. It's kind of like bad blood between them.
Amazon and Netflix, obviously that doesn't make sense. They don't have broadcast channels, but if you're CBS, you shouldn't be making shows just for streaming. Like, you should air everything you make.
Well, and with Disney Plus, it's like they want everything to be exclusive, so you have to sign up for Disney Plus, so they would never air.
But then air it at some point. Make it like a special thing. Make it an incentive to get people to come and watch, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like syndication. You don't have to air it all the time, but just like maybe over the summer, be like, okay, we're gonna put The Mandalorian out on the Disney Channel, and we're gonna put it like on, you know, Wednesday night at 7:00 or something. We're gonna make and like I guarantee you it would get watched. There would be people that did not bother with Disney Plus that would go, oh, finally I get to watch this, or just people channel surfing, okay, this is on, I guess I'll watch it because I liked the show. Like, it would get ratings, I think, in a primetime slot. And then you go, okay, this is going back in the digital Disney vault. We're not going to air it again.
Which is why it should have been called Disney Vault, not Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you know what, by the way, we're jumping all over the place. You know what's stupid? CBS, when they lose all access, is going to rebrand it as CBS Plus. They're going to put Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus. So they're going to do the same thing.
That's Apple TV Plus.
They're going to do the same thing that Disney has done, but this is more like Disney and Warner's, right? Because like Warner's has with HBO Max taken all of their catalog from, or at least a lot of the catalog from different things and put it all under one roof. And that's what Disney did, and that's now what Paramount's going to do, because Paramount wants to pretend like somehow they have the kind of clout that those two companies have, and it's going to be Paramount Plus. And I'm like, okay, at least it's alliterative. But like, if they'd gotten ahead of it, you would have been like, oh, screw you, Disney Plus. You're not very creative. It's not even alliterative. But Disney already did Plus, so you guys don't get to do Plus. That's stupid. Like, call it something else. But call it Paramount Party or something. Like that should be, you know, they should have like a whole like birthday cake motif, and that's
Paramount Peacock.
Well, those are different things.
Well, they're gonna join. Give you both. It's like they put the peacock on top of the mountain.
And then you get Lionsgate in there, and there's just a gate that opens that has a peacock on top
of
the mountain.
It's the most metal streaming service cover you've ever seen.
And then there's like a lion that roars like behind the gate, and yeah, we can do this all day.
Yeah, there's like a 20th century Fox thing, but they can't say 20th century anymore.
Mutali got out in front of me and mentioned Paramount Plus, yeah. But anyway, so I don't know. There's some thoughts, DJ.
Yeah, well, the one thing I was gonna say when you were talking about it dropping all at once, and like for the shows, like the era of my life that I did that with, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones. One problem I have with that is I can't remember what happens in any episode. Like it all just runs together to me. Like the one thing I could be like, the episode where he saves the kid at the end and there's that long one shot. Like that's the only thing I know is in episode 2 of Daredevil. But like everything else is just like one. And Jessica Jones, we watched that like all on a road trip up to my old place in Pennsylvania, and I can't remember anything. It's like a huge movie for me in my head.
That is a spectacular point. And they are, to be fair, kind of plotted that way. But if you were watching them week to week, you would realize that it's still TV. There is still something sometimes kind of episodic about it, where like it's not a complete story beginning to middle to end. It is a chapter, but it's not arbitrary as to what goes into a single episode. But like, I don't know, like I said, if I really, really care about something, I'm gonna probably binge it if I've got the time to binge it. But just for the sake of like how it affects the culture and stuff, I think overall this is maybe a better model. But like the main reason it's happening is because it's better business for the streaming service. How did it take them this long to figure that out?
I have no idea. And like, it seems so obvious. And well, Netflix's solution, instead of stop dropping things all at once and putting them week to week, was we'll just release a new streaming show every week. We'll just keep inundating with them. We'll throw a new thing on, and like something pops up every like almost every day on Netflix on the home banner, and then it's gone. And like I never hear about it again.
Give me time to watch it. Like, you guys aren't making movies. I mean, you do make movies, but like that stuff isn't movies. It doesn't make sense. Like, people don't have that kind of time in their day.
Yeah, have you seen...
You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're burying things that might have otherwise been really popular.
Did you see that Tom Holland and Winter Soldier, I don't know what his name is, movie that just came out on Netflix?
I heard about it,
That was like a huge thing, and it was on the banner for one day, and then I haven't heard about it since then.
Dude, there's something... Back in the day, like it's crazy to say back in the day, but like you know when these shows on Netflix first started, Netflix had kind of the monopoly on this. Like you'd have things advertised like that. I don't remember if they had a banner, but like you'd see a thing on their homepage or whatever for a good couple weeks or a month before something else took its place.
Yeah, they're just massive now. Like, it's crazy how much stuff they're churning out. I don't know if it's working for them. It doesn't seem to be. Aren't they in like crazy debt?
They're in debt, yeah. I don't understand what the business model is there. What is the point of that? Like, I get like trying to make, enough stuff for everybody. Like, I like that they don't have kind of a house style of the things they make. Like, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix that I don't care about, and you and I have different sensibilities. Some of the stuff that I would care about is stuff that you don't care about. Like, it's really nice that it's a catch-all like that. There's a lot of different kinds of things they'll make, and they're not concerned about a particular kind of branding. Like, they want to be all for all people. And that's not
it's
not
a TV
bad.
substitute. It's not like a channel.
But it's oversaturated, and it has been for a long time. And if they could have held on to some of their older content and then, backed off on making newer stuff, I think they wouldn't have lost as many subscribers. Because the big thing people like to complain about all the time now is that Netflix is no longer ubiquitous with streaming. It's like, well, we wanted you to have everything. And obviously, that was never going to happen. And once other streaming services started, a lot of that's not their fault. Where, like, they can't, well, I've talked about this before, but they can't make deals with everybody now, and contracts go up, and so they have to replace it with something. But there's a lot of stuff they could have hung on to that they chose not to, so that they could have more original programming. And it's so oversaturated, I don't know what the point of that is. I don't think it's helped them overall. I think like a few titles have kept people subscribing, and after that, I don't know. I don't think there's anybody that's like, yay, there's something new on Netflix every day, because nobody watches all of it.
No, definitely not. And they're also, famous or infamous for canceling things after a couple seasons, and they don't really have many long running shows.
What does Cap like that DJ doesn't? DJ and I have really different sensibilities with a lot of stuff that we watch. We have a lot of crossover, certainly, but I'm a sci-fi guy and he's a fantasy guy. DJ is the only person I know that doesn't care about Star Trek or Star Wars. Like, he just doesn't care about space as a thing.
Yeah, not a space guy. I like Moon. What other space movies do I like? I'll get back to you.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm not like a. Like what Cap has with fantasy, where he's like, people don't have cars, they have horses, like that. I have that with, like, I don't like spaceships and laser guns. Like, it's just, I mean, obviously I can get past it. Like, I can if I like the story, but it's not like a setting that I just gravitate towards.
Yeah, that in and of itself is not the thing that draws you to it. there's way too much science fiction now that it doesn't do it for me either at this point, where I'm just like, I need to hear somebody say that a thing is great before I go and look at it. I don't have the thing I used to, where like I'm trying to watch every sci-fi thing that's on. It's like superhero stuff now. I'm more choosy, where I'm just like, I mean, I've seen enough crappy things, and there's so much of it. There's not enough time in my day. Pardon me.
Yeah, and Cap says I like fantasy things, but then Mitali asked me if I've seen The Witcher. I have not seen The Witcher. I have just gotten so used to there being no good fantasy television movies that I don't even watch the things that are somewhat praised by some people. So no, I haven't checked it out. I watched like the beginning of the first episode. I don't think it's my kind of thing, but yeah, maybe I'll check it out if you guys say it's good. Let me know.
And then also DJ is really into like fairy tale fiction and stuff like that, which I'm not.
Well, yeah. Which doesn't really get a lot of love in movies these days either. But I'm a big old school Disney guy too. I don't think Cap watches a lot of the old school. I don't know. I've been going through those again with my son lately. Just watched the Three Caballeros.
I have the ones I'm nostalgic for from my childhood, but no, it's not a thing that I'm not like a fan of that necessarily. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting to some other things. If this topic keeps coming up, we can totally keep on this train, but there's at least a couple super chats, so we should probably get those knocked out. But I'm going to scroll up here a little bit, and there might be a couple of things regarding this that I want to make sure to tackle. So why don't we go ahead and get... Oh, you know what? Let me do this first. Daniel Davis, do you think there's too many streaming services out there? It hurts me just trying to follow them all. Well, yes, of course. And that's what people refer to when they're talking about the streaming wars. And I think when people say that, I think the reason that term has gotten popular is because people are expecting someone to win that at some point, or at least to get down eventually to 2 or 3. Like we're in the middle right now of what we used to be with media formats and things. Where it's like what's going to win out, VHS or Betamax or Blu-ray or HD DVD, that kind of thing. We have that right now with the streaming wars, except there's like a million more of them, and people are sick of it. Like people are really up in arms because cord cutting is no longer even hardly a term you can use anymore. Like even a couple 3 years ago, you could cord cut, get rid of your cable, and with like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 streaming services that altogether might cost you like $30 or $40 a month net, you would have access to enough stuff that it might kind of supplant cable for you. And we're getting to the point where that's not the case. And I think there's a strategy that's being developed, DJ, with a lot of these new streaming services where they're trying to dupe you into thinking that because it's one big parent company's, like all of that parent company's stuff, that somehow it's actually dwindling down the number of services that there are. But it's actually doing the opposite, because a lot of those things used to all be on one other service that was unrelated to the parent company that it was just in cahoots with, as opposed to owning, right? So once they want to own their own thing, all of those separate companies are trying to make you think, okay, look how much stuff we have. It's like, yeah, but when you were all on Netflix, or when most of you were on Hulu, it was a great deal more in one place. Like, you're not fooling me. I see what's happening here.
Yeah, it's the landscape has changed so much. It's crazy. Like I think, man, you have 5 or 6 streaming services each.
I have at least 5, yeah.
And we still, there's still many, many more of the small little tiny ones that...
Well, you know what drives me crazy? I pay for HBO Max and for Stars and a couple things like that. And well, I say I pay for Stars. I actually don't pay for Stars, but I have access to Stars. But like, because one of the things that a lot of us do now, of course, is you'll have whole families that just put everybody on a plan, because why not? So there's somebody in my family that has Stars. Like, I didn't care about that until I started realizing how many movies people were requesting in the Patreon request that were on Stars, and I was like, oh, I'm really glad I have access to this now. And yet, even though I've got Netflix and Amazon and all these different things, I'm still having to pay for an Amazon rental for about half of the requests. At least.
Yeah, you're in a terrible situation. Because,
I don't want to complain. That's a first world problem. I mean, like, people are people are paying on Patreon to request those, so I count that purchase as part of the request. Like they're making it easy for me to do that. Like it's still worth it. It's not a problem, but I feel like I'm having to pay the rental more often than I used to. I feel like it used to be more of those movies would show up in things that I have, and not as much now. So that kind of sucks.
You would think now that there's way more streaming services, they would pop up somewhere. But
right now I'm paying at least $4 to $8 a week probably for rentals, on top of the streaming services. So like I'm definitely paying a cable subscription right now, and I'm not even paying for live television at the moment. Like if you do that, if you try to cord cut and pay for live TV, because you know this, because you pay for it, you get well above and beyond cable at that point. Like you because live television, whether you do it on YouTube or Amazon, is at least $50. And so beyond that, if you've got also 5 or 6 streaming services, like now you're at $100. Now you're at like an unreasonable cable bill.
Yeah, I do Hulu, and it's $55. And I hate that Disney won't stop shoving the stupid bundle in my face. Like, do our bundle. You get $12. You get Hulu, Disney, and I can't do the bundle because I have live TV. So it doesn't work for me. So stop telling me that. But
that's irritating.
But anyway, what was I gonna say? I was just about to say something. Oh yeah, you were talking about stars and stuff like that. See, those are even on top. Like if you have Amazon, there's like a bunch of channels you can add to Amazon that they're not even necessarily their own. I guess they probably do have their own streaming services, but they're partnered with Amazon, and that can run your bill up like super high. My son, playing around with the remote the other day, signed us up for Showtime, and I was like, oh no. But it was a 7-day trial, and we canceled it real quick. We got to see Parenthood, which I've never seen, which is a good movie. And I've now seen 2 movies with Keanu Reeves in it. One thanks to my son because he signed us up for Showtime, and one thanks to you because you came to my house and forced me to watch it.
You should watch Bill and Ted. It's great.
Oh, I should. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. TH1.
Yeah.
I'll jump into the super chats because there's piling up. Here's a $10 one from TH1.
Thanks, Tom. What's up, man?
The good thing about all at once is not needing to wait for next episode. However, the good thing about weekly is longer life of people talking about it a lot longer. You rock when new TV. What new TV are you excited for? Okay, I'm glad he said something else because we had already talked about.
I was going to say, like, I think we've kind of done our bit on both of those points, and you just echoed some things or I guess we echoed things you said before we got to your super chat. But yeah, so new shows we're looking forward to. For me, mainly, it's just. As much as I've been ragging on Disney Plus, it's just Disney Plus stuff, I guess. It's just, MCU shows and second season of Mandalorian. Like, there's not a great deal else. I keep hearing about things that are supposedly great that I just haven't bothered with, so I can't get excited about the new seasons of them because I've not gone back and watched the old seasons of them. But, like, people keep saying I've got to look at Dark, and, there's some shows that I keep meaning to get started that I don't even know if they're still on the air. Do you ever have that where you're like, I really need to start this? Maybe it's been canceled, like I don't know if The Expanse is still on or if that finally finished. That's in at least the 4th or 5th year of its run. When it was on Sci-Fi, got canceled, and then got picked up by I want to say Amazon. I don't even know if that's still on. I know Man in the High Castle, finally finished, and I never got past the 2nd season of that. Like I'm behind on a million things, so I can't get excited about new TV. Because I'm in the hole on time with this stuff. I mean, I'm in the same place I am with comics, where I just have not been keeping up, and so, but I don't know. Is there anything for you, DJ?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm sure there are, but I can't even think of anything at this moment except for one that is on the front of my mind because it was supposed to come out in like March and it got canceled because of all this. And it's finally the first episode I saw on Hulu yesterday, and it's Fargo. And I tell Cap about Fargo all the time. He needs to watch Fargo. Fargo's amazing. 3 seasons, 10 episodes each.
I gotta suggest something to you about Fargo, by the way, because I learned something about this the other day and was like, everybody's buried the lead on this. So I would have already started Fargo if I had known that Kansas City was involved as heavily as it apparently is. That's where I live. Nobody ever does anything with Kansas City, and apparently the 2nd season of that show has a major famous mobster from Kansas City, and then the 4th season is supposed to actually go there. And I want to see what is that, like the 1920s? Like I want to see the mobs.
Yeah.
I want to see the mobs of the 20s in Kansas City and see how they realize that. Are they going to do any location shooting? Is it all CG? Like I don't know what they're doing in that show, but like I have to know how they realize 1920s Kansas City. So awesome. If you had told me that, I would have already been watching it.
I didn't know that. I don't look ahead at what the season is, and And so that's what they do. The movie takes place in like 96, and then the first season is like 2010 or 2006, but they like take one piece from the movie that wasn't explained, and then they go tell a story there, and then they'll drop one reference in that season, and then they'll go back in the 70s in season 2 and explain that whole story. And then season 3 jumps back.
Okay, I didn't realize that's how they were. So I didn't know that it was present day at all, because I don't know anything about Fargo. But that's cool. I'm so upset whenever I hear shows being that inventive and creative with their anthologies, because that's what Discovery almost was. I'm so upset that Star Trek hasn't done that. So it drives me crazy when I hear other shows have been doing that, because that's what Fuller wanted to do. He wanted to just jump around time, and every season would be a different time period. I'm like, give me that already.
It sounds like that's what they're doing. If you said that they mentioned season 2 a mobster, and now they're gonna go explain that whole story in season 4, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Man. Let me know if you check it out, because I think it's one of the best shows I've ever seen, and it's not my thing at all. It's just like a crime drama, and there's no real supernatural elements at all, but it's super fun. I like it.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list. I started Castle Rock, but I haven't gotten back to it. I'm terrible at this. I'll watch a pilot and be like, that was great.
I did the same thing with Castle Rock. I watched the pilot of that, even though it's a horror kind of thing. I watched I watched the pilot of Succession with my wife the other day, which is
I don't even know what that is.
Fantastic show. It's supposed to be like the best show on television right now. It's some HBO show. I keep hearing about it, and I watched the pilot, and it was really, really good. And then we never went back.
I want to watch a show like that where everybody says that I just love the wording of that it's supposed to be the best show on television, and then I not agree with that, and then like point at the show and scream and be like, you were supposed to be the best show. That's what everybody said. That was your job. You were supposed to be the best one. How dare you?
All right. Carl Maxey.
It's your responsibility to be the best one.
With great notoriety comes great responsibility.
Yeah, precisely.
If a movie is 10 years old or more, are people allowed to freely Oh, here we go. Hot take. Are people allowed to freely spoil movies and TV shows? Because if someone didn't see it in the last decade, then it shouldn't be the spoiler's fault.
So...
Two sides. I can see both sides.
So I don't mean to constantly say I can see both sides to this and not come down anywhere. But I will kind of come down somewhere on this. So I think it's a little different now than it was even 10, 20 years ago. Yeah, even 10, but definitely 20. Because of the cultural touchstone issue. You can't expect people to have seen even most of the acclaimed things now, like you maybe sort of at one time could have. And I don't mean that you should ever expect everybody to see everything that's supposed to be good anyway. But like, if somebody professes themselves to be a TV buff, a movie buff, or you say what's your hobby, and they say I watch movies. There are certain movies you expect that a person that says my hobby is watching movies has seen. If you say my hobby is watching movies and you've never seen Star Wars, your hobby is not watching movies. That doesn't make any sense, right? So at one time there was little enough stuff and little enough acclaimed stuff. Still a lot of stuff, like, even when I was a kid, like I felt overwhelmed. I'm never going to be able to see everything that was great, even in 1996, I'm saying this. But now at this point, I don't even hear about everything. Like, I can't possibly know what all is even there. It's not just a matter of I haven't seen it all. I just won't even know. And so if 10 years from now, somebody spoils like a huge major plot point of, say, like Black Sails or something, I'm gonna be like, I've only heard about that in passing. I don't know one person that's ever watched Black Sails, but that seemed kind of interesting. Maybe I'd like to watch that at some point. So I think at this point, maybe you ought to say spoiler alert in front of pretty much anything you bring up. Now, I don't want to seem like a hypocrite, because I have sometimes made fun of myself where I've been like, I want to say spoiler alert, whatever. It's 30 years old. If you haven't seen it by now, but then I'm usually saying that about things that are old enough that people have had time to look at them, and it was before all this happened, right? Like, I almost feel more this way about stuff that's come out since the streaming thing happened than I do about anything that came out when there were only so many movies, you know, in the theater at once, and you know, on television, and where, like, I just think on demand changes everything. Like, you're not limited anymore on how many things can exist, how many acclaimed things can exist, how many things that people love, you know, are around, and so it's hard for me not to answer that with, yeah, you ought to put spoilers in front of everything. At the same time, I have a hard time getting upset with anybody that goes like, well, it's 20 years old though. Like, I guess what I'm saying is I get why a person wouldn't even think of it, like to,
Yeah.
you know, to say spoiler alert for something that is older. But I don't know. How do you feel about that?
No, I'm the same. You used to be able to assume this before, but now you can't assume just because someone hasn't seen something even if it's really old, that it's because they've chosen not to at this point. Because there's just, like you said, there's way too many things, and they might be trying to get around to it and still not getting to it. But I also think that you need to give people a little leeway and not like freak out at them and go crazy if they just accidentally let something slip because they weren't even thinking about it.
But you also shouldn't forget on people for not having seen something that is hard to talk about without spoiling it, because that is not going to be a way to convince them to finally watch it.
Yes, that's the worst, yeah.
I was, and I've told this story before, I was so happy years ago when I reviewed Fight Club, and somehow I never had that ending spoiled for me. I don't know how that worked out. It's one of the big classic, you know, kind of O. Henry, you know, endings kind of, and where it's like the whole movie's not what you thought it was the whole time, and I was like, you know, I knew that it had some kind of twist, but I didn't know what it was, or if I did at one point, I had forgotten about it, so I was able to watch that unadulterated, and that affected certainly how it impacted me in even my review and possibly even my score. So, like, I don't want people to not get to have that first time experience for things. At the same time, you want to be able to discuss things and talk about stuff. And sometimes you'll think of a really relevant point that is a spoiler that will make an argument you're trying to make, like in a setting like this, like, you know, make a lot more sense or be a lot more poignant or whatever, if you could go, you know, it's like this, and most people watching this now know what I'm talking about, like. And then, like, how long do you have to wait to just, like, reference things that 99% of people definitely saw? You know what I mean? Like, nobody thinks to go, well, maybe somebody didn't see Infinity War, I can't talk about the snap, right? Nobody at this point is going to give you crap for mentioning the snap. It's memes now. It's everywhere. Is that a problem? Or is it fine because 99% of people saw it? I don't know what the answer is. I feel bad for the one person that didn't, you know.
Yeah, I will say it's very different for us because, like, in a natural setting, you wouldn't be talking in detail about a movie to a person who hasn't seen it. But since we're on camera, there's always going to be someone who hasn't seen it. So it's like a different set of rules. Like, if you're in your normal life, you just operate like the golden rule, right? Like, treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, if you don't like things to be spoiled, obviously if you're talking to someone who hasn't seen the movie, you wouldn't talk about it like that. But since, like, we're on camera all the time, and you don't want to have, it's hard to remember to say spoiler alerts when you're just talking to someone like me and you were just doing a Marvel Mania, and we're just talking about a movie that we both love. It's hard to remember all the time that people are even watching us, much less that we have to prep everything we say with spoiler alert.
Well, and last night Brandon gave me crap for mentioning something that happened later in the episode we were watching. I'm like, we don't do spoiler alerts on commentaries, buddy. Like, so yeah, I mean, it depends on the setting to some degree, but you know what else? Spoiler alert is not always helpful. Because if you say spoiler alert and 3 seconds later do the spoiler, that's worse than if you didn't say it, right? Because people aren't going to have time to even make the choice of whether or not they're going to continue watching. And I this is just kind of a me issue, because most people wouldn't have this because not everybody's live streaming. But like with me on a live stream, it's like, okay, what do I do when I want to say a spoiler alert on a live show? Like, don't like go ahead and turn off the sound and make a sandwich for 5 minutes, and then I gotta make sure that I'm no longer talking about this in 5 minutes. But something else can come up. Maybe I only talk about it for 30 seconds, and then they missed a whole topic that they want to listen to. Like, you can't win on this at the end of the day. Like especially if you're like a public figure and you're like you're discussing things on a regular basis. There is no winning on this.
Yeah, it's really tough. And real quick, I have a pet peeve about this. This could be a whole GNN about spoilers. Since you mentioned that Fight Club, you knew that Fight Club had a twist. That is also a spoiler. I hate when things are like, even advertised this way, not even people, but advertised like, you'll never guess the twist. Well, now I'm thinking about a twist the whole movie.
Yeah,
and like,
I'm spending the
it's
whole
so
movie
much easier
going...
to spot a twist when you know there's a twist coming. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, because and then you second guess everything. The entire movie is unreliable narrator at that point.
Yeah, and then you've got like these things in your head of what it could be, and then when it happens, like, oh, okay, well, that was one of the things. Like, if I wouldn't have been thinking about it the whole time, I probably wouldn't have thought of that. That's advertising, though. That's well, I don't know. Some people do that too. Like, oh, the twist is amazing. You have to go see this. But then like that's a sticky situation, right? Because try getting people like Rasco had the hardest time getting you to go see Split because it's like you have to see it for this. But I don't even want to mention what that's
no, and he handled that really well too, because he wasn't like, if he'd said there's going to be a thing related to like superhero movies or to something that you've reviewed before, like even that I would have been like, oh, okay, so it's set in something like the whole point of going into that blind was you don't know that what you're watching is from a universe that already existed. Like, that was what was cool about that.
And that's super tough because that is not something that we would normally go see. Like, I don't think you probably would have seen Split if he didn't tell you. If he's a trusted friend and told you that you had to go see Split. That's kind of a horror thing. I don't know. That was a weird situation.
I wouldn't have gone in the theater. I might have rented it if enough people said it was great. I might have rented it just on the basis of people said a Shyamalan movie was finally good because it's been so many years since I've heard anybody say that. That might have been enough to make me take a look at it if I had even remembered to do that.
Yeah.
But more likely, I just would have forgotten about it, and then it would have been 10 years, and then somebody would have spoiled it for me.
People are jokingly like spoiling things in the comments, which is funny, but also a dangerous game. Like they're doing like Psycho and Planet of the Apes, like really well-known things.
What that says to me is that no one watching the show right now agrees with me that there's two sides to this. Everyone in the comments is saying, nah, spoil stuff if it's old. It's fine.
It's from 1960. It's 60 years old. It's probably good.
I say that. Now they're spoiling comic stuff.
If I hadn't watched Bates Motel before I watched Psycho, I wouldn't have put together the twist because I hadn't even heard of it. But I also wouldn't have watched it if I didn't watch Bates Motel. So there's that. John Ty, which one did you tolerate more? The idea that Cyclops was cheating on Jean Grey with Emma Frost, or Sue Storm cheating on Reed with Namor?
Neither of those were things that I was reading at the time that I found out about them. So, like, yeah, I've heard about both of those things. I think the Sue Storm thing I did finally read later, and like the Emma Cyclops thing, like I know about, but I don't know if I ever actually sat down and read it. So like, I'm a dog in that fight. That's all stuff that I just know about from osmosis and like being a comic fan and talking to comic people. So I don't know how I would have necessarily, taken that because I don't remember how exactly they read in the context of it. I think I probably would have been less annoyed by the Sue Storm thing, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I didn't know there was like a fair type situation with those. I thought they were just like always like a love triangle thing, but I mean it depends on however it was written, obviously. Like you can be made to buy that thing more in one thing than another.
This is my favorite William Parcell spoiler. Ray is a Mary Sue. I just like that in the middle of all these real spoilers. That's really funny.
Yeah, I'm staying out of the comments right now because I don't know. They're probably joking, but there's probably something that I haven't seen.
Yeah, something you guys should keep in mind, of course, is that DJ like vehemently hates vehemently. He's like Vince, but like 10 times worse.
not not as bad these days because I just forget everything because I've got so many things in my brain.
I
But yeah,
have
when I
that
was
too.
younger, I used to
But yeah,
forget
when I
about
say
it.
spoilers, I don't mean just like DJ doesn't want to know how a thing ends. I mean DJ wants to go into everything 100% blind. He doesn't want to know what the genre is of a movie before he sees it. I don't know how he
It's
chooses.
okay.
I don't know how
I've
he
explained this
chooses
a million
anything to
times.
see because he just basically what DJ wants to do is he wants to sit in front of his TV and let the TV choose what he watches. That's what he wants.
Okay, I'm going to defend myself, even though I've said this before and he's just messing with me. If it's something I'm going to see anyway, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see Marvel stuff because I know I'm going to see it anyway, or
Right.
the big fantasy or sci-fi stuff, whatever. I obviously have to watch trailers for things that I don't know what they are. Anyway, did
I
you?
forgot to tell everybody I changed the name of this to the Hyperbolic Show.
That's not a bad idea for a show. We should try it.
Oh, we should. Where just everything is as sarcastic as humanly possible.
Yeah, we'll call it the Hyper Bowl.
Ooh,
What
that's cool. That sounds like a sporting event.
Oh, yeah, no one wants to see us do that. TH1, did you want to see us swim apparently, although that hasn't come up in a while.
That's true.
And
We
I
can
probably
make that
just
the
ignited
hyperbole.
that
We could
whole thing, man.
sarcastically swim.
How does one
We
sarcastically
could swim facetiously.
I don't think I'm a good enough swimmer to start getting fancy with my swimming technique. Did
Look,
you?
look, they're synchronized and facetious. It's amazing.
Anyway, TH1, did you caught up on Muppets now? Thoughts? Only 6 episodes.
I watched one more, and it's already feeling a real same old kind of stale to me. So I might watch more of that at some point when I just don't have anything better to do, when I'm like eating a sandwich or something. But I can't get excited about watching more of that. Like, it's fine. It feels like they've got, the few segments that they're doing, and I don't want to repeat too much of what I said when I reviewed that pilot, but like and when I reviewed that pilot, I didn't know what the history was with how they were putting that together, with how like apparently originally it was supposed to be separate segments that they were just gonna post up online, but then they decided to make it a show, and I think that was a mistake. I just want to see the segments that people tell me are great, like they've got what are essentially these like YouTube series that are all 3 minutes too long. That they splice all together as like a variety show and make it like a YouTube variety show where it's like all these videos that could have been posted as separate things, and like there's a cooking show, and there's like a game show, and there's one that's like Miss Piggy talking about fashion and stuff. Some of those, once I've seen the gag, they're not funny anymore, and some of them are a little bit better than that, but I don't know. I'm not finding it as totally worth my time. It's the best Muppet thing we've had in a long time. Like, it's fine, but I can't get excited about it enough to prioritize it and watch it.
All right, we gotta get moving on these. They're starting to pile up here.
No. Thanks, guys.
Azim.
Hi.
Streaming/TV has to a certain extent spoil films for me, particularly films with epic scope, ample characters, and storylines.
Well, we've had a flip, right? Where, generally speaking, our more sophisticated, nuanced storytelling tends to be on television, and our more kind of lowbrow, if you want to put it that way, or like least common denominator, trying to make everybody happy, stuff is in movies now, and movies is the place to go when you want to be on a roller coaster, but you don't want to have to actually go on a roller coaster. The problem is, if by and large that's what was going to the theater, and the people making those movies just resign themselves at the beginning of the process to, we're making popcorn things, or we're making fluff pieces, or whatever, that might be okay, but the problem is everybody's in denial about it. So what ends up happening is you'll have these great ideas that like real filmmakers have for big commercial projects that they're not allowed to realize properly, and they end up getting really watered down or sterilized, and they go to the theater insanely compromised and made very much by committee. And I think that's another thing to keep in mind, is that another big difference right now between a lot of, and I'm talking about like big, expensive commercial films. I'm not saying that there's not smaller, more intimate films that are made for particular audiences, but not trying to be accessible to everybody, that don't go to movie theaters, but they don't last in movie theaters for very long, and very often these days, there's a thought as soon as they come out from studios of, maybe we should have just put that on Netflix, and we have a lot of those kinds of things now just coming to Netflix, and so even movies that are more nuanced and aren't for everybody, because not everything has to be for everybody, I'm putting in the category of television, because it's like TV movies made like real movies, right? Like, we never used to put TV movies in the category of movies. They all were always in the category of television. So if it's a movie that was made for Hulu or made for Netflix, I'm putting that in the TV category, even though it is a film. You see what I'm saying? So, no, I completely agree with you. Like, that, there definitely has been that flip. And I just wish the cinema would stop being in denial and kind of understand what it is. Because if you start from a place of here's what sells in a movie theater, the schlock stuff would be better schlock. I really believe that, and I like good schlock. What I don't like is like super compromised by committee, like mutates. Like I hate that. The mutant movies.
You sounded like some
Frankenstein monsters.
You sounded like you came out of a Frank. You sound like a reporter from a Frank Miller comic. Like, I hate mutates. Mainly, okay, here we go. Another one from Azim.
Look, if I don't find some way to make it slightly entertaining, nobody's gonna watch this.
No, what are you talking about? This is vastly entertaining. This is better than TV and spectacle movies. This is where it's at. This is where the people should be.
Well, that's my big goal, is to become a $100 million spectacle movie. Like just as this.
YouTube, a speculative YouTube talk show. That I mean, hey, that hasn't been done. We should try it.
I want the Captain Logan show to become a giant, like, big screen popcorn film where it's exactly what you're watching now, but it somehow cost $100 million, and everybody goes, I don't know where the money went. That's what I want.
And then we'll be gotcha all the way to the bank. This follows up on Azim's last question, I'm assuming, because he says mainly because the production/narrative quality gap has narrowed considerably, and the fact that streaming/TV offers more time for exploration.
That's part of it. But it was always true that television would offer you more time for exploration. And we didn't allow that years ago when I was a kid as much. I didn't allow a lot of serialized storytelling because TV, a lot of, well, I say a lot of, I guess all of the networks at the time I wanted to make sure that people were not confused when they came into just some random episode, because you couldn't just, on demand watch a thing whenever you wanted to. And even with taping, nobody ever made a TV show keeping taping in mind, because that doesn't get you Nielsen ratings. So you want to pretend like people aren't doing that. You want to pretend like everybody is watching at 7 o'clock when the thing comes on, right? So that was always true, but we didn't. But we didn't finally start capitalizing on it until cable networks, until HBO and Showtime and things like that. And so yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that shift has happened because binge watching became a thing. Like that doesn't happen as much if. Or as far across the board if you don't get on-demand viewing, I don't think. Because, yeah, you had it with The Sopranos and things like that. You had it with HBO and places like that. But your, like, network, your regular network broadcast stuff maybe never would have gotten there. You had to make stuff, is the conventional wisdom anyway, for the dumb, drooling masses that may not stick with you past the commercial break, for the same reason that's the kind of stuff that we're making, by and large, for the big screen right now.
And then the trilogy closer from Azim, third super chat in a row. Thanks, man. He says, do you guys believe, as I do, that the streaming wars are going to end with a lot of buyouts and absorptions?
I think the only thing that can end that is exactly what you're talking about, yeah, because there's nothing stopping all these parent companies from having their own streaming services right now, except, I guess, lack of success. So what ends up happening if Peacock doesn't pan out or HBO Max doesn't pan out or something like that? Like, are those parent companies going to make deals with their competitors at this point?
They probably
Hard to
have
say.
no choice.
They're going to want those things to be available somehow, but if at the end of the day it's not lucrative for them at all, there may just be a lot of stuff that you can't stream. I mean, I don't know what another eventuality would be with that. So, yeah, I think one of two things happens. The streaming wars never ends. We just keep living in a constant oscillating landscape. Or we get into what I think is a really frightening landscape, nearly a like cultural dystopia of, finally Disney and Warner's or Disney and Amazon own everything. And like that is looking more and more plausible after the Fox thing. Let's not pretend like just because. Or I mean, I don't. This is my opinion. I don't think it's true that just because the government was concerned about that and an antitrust lawsuit was antitrust was looked into and they ultimately won it means that can't happen again. I don't want to think that way. I think that absolutely could happen again. I think the fact that they won that, and I still say the fact that the government even looked into it means that it probably was actually antitrust. I have a hard time not thinking that. They won that one. What is stopping them from doing it again? And yeah, so the streaming wars ends when Disney Plus is the only thing there is because they own everything. That doesn't sound crazy to me at this point. Wish it did, no, but it doesn't.
No, but cultural dystopia sounds like a great name for a show.
It certainly sounds like a great name for a rock album.
Streaming dystopia. That's what Solar Dragon says. It's coming.
I'm starting to wish that that's what we called our Streaming Wars segment instead of Streaming Wars.
Streaming Wars was a long enough title to try to fit in a stupid logo.
No, do it. Do it. Cultural dystopia. The musical.
All right, moving on to William Parcell. What are some streaming... Oh, I love this. I love all the streaming talk. What are some streaming practices that have you worried about the future of streaming?
Practices. Well, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing that scares me is like Disney buying up everything. I don't know what like. I feel like I need some time to noodle this and like write down.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
This is another Blue Book question. You know what I mean? We're like, I didn't study for this. I'm not prepared for it.
Well, yeah. Something that I'm experiencing right now, and something that you bring up a lot, and I hear you talk about this, is the fact that whatever they decide to put, if discs are no longer made, like whatever they decide to be up is what's up. You can't get your hands on stuff. And like I said, I'm watching through all the Disney movies with my son, and one of the Walt Disney Animation Studios movies, number 8, I think 7, it's just not on there. They just haven't put it on there. And I did some research. I think it's because they're one of the. It's like a short. It's one of those ones that's like a short, like Melody Time. It's called Make Mine Music, and it's just like 10 different shorts. One of the shorts got like them in trouble for like being too violent at some point, and they had never done a re-release with that short included. So, but because it's like supposed to be a 10-part story, I think that's why they're not putting it on there. I haven't confirmed that, but like that kind of stuff, as we go forward, older things are going to get taken down, and if you don't have it on disc, you're not going to be able to find it.
Yeah, this instant gratification here and now mentality. We act like because everything can be preserved that we're definitely actually doing that, and people do not seem to be as concerned as I think they should be that at some point there are things they want to get their hands on that they won't be able to. We have somehow, because of instant streaming primarily, convinced a lot of people that buying things on discs is outmoded. And it would be if more was available, or it would feel more that way anyway if more was available. Like I have had people like I've had this argument with people out in public. Like you're so old fashioned. You're such an old person. You still buy discs. You still like put them up on shelves. And I'm like, yeah, and guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to really want to watch something at some point, and you're going to have like 95 streaming services that are $15 a month, and you're not going to be streaming with all of them. Or even if you are paying for all of them, they're going to rotate their catalog out all the time. And the moment that you really need that movie is going to be the time they don't have it. You're going to love this story. So 2 weeks ago, my son really wanted to watch the Back to the Future trilogy. And all I had at the time was the old DVDs that were in that were not in widescreen format. They were the old TV, box ones. And I was like, I'm not watching it like that. I'm not going to watch it with the edges cut off. And like a month earlier, Netflix had all the Back to the Future movies, and I went to look, and they weren't there. And so I went out and decided to buy Blu-rays. And I went to 4 stores, and I finally found one Blu-ray set left at one of the last stores. Apparently, in the middle of a pandemic, what everybody does is they go out and they buy Back to the Future. So I get home, and we watch over the next 3 days the Back to the Future movies. And on day 4, all 3 movies are back up on Netflix. Not kidding. This happened, and I was like,
oh,
you can't.
man.
I mean, you can't trust anything. Like at any point, they might pull something and put it back up. It could be they could pull it down and put it up next month or a year from now. Like you never know. So I'm not saying that like everybody should have everything they've ever had on a streaming service. I kind of get rotating out a little bit in trying to entice new subscribers to come in, where it's like, well, you didn't have this, but now that you do, maybe I'll try you out. Like I get why they're doing that. Do you find that, DJ? Because that's maybe one of the practices I would throw out as potentially problematic. Like, do you consider that dirty pool, or do you consider it like putting things out episode to episode, week to week, just good business?
I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that because I never know how much of it is like on purpose and how much of it is just because the contracts and all that nonsense.
Nope. Disagree. A lot of it is on purpose, most assuredly, because there's not a contract issue with the stuff that Warner Brothers owns that they do with HBO Max like this, where they just rotate crap out. When DC Universe started, and I realized that's about to not be a streaming service anymore, but like they would just randomly have Batman movies and then not have Batman movies. I mean, they're doing this on purpose, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, if that's happening, I don't know. I haven't noticed that because I haven't watched any of those. But so you're talking about that kind of stuff. Yeah, I prefer the streaming services that are like Disney Plus or like HBO for the stuff I do watch there, that where it's just like a library. And it's not like that's why I don't really care for Netflix, or I guess Amazon's like this too, where they just get movies with licenses.
But yeah,
and stuff.
HBO Max is definitely doing this with at least some of their movies. Like, I don't think they have with TV yet, but like that is already one of those services that will do you like that. They'll rotate stuff in and out.
Yeah. If that's a thing, then I'm probably with you. I don't know why they would be doing that. That seems.
Blue Dragon 5 says it's absolutely dirty pool. Yeah. People in the comments are not liking that.
Yeah.
And yes, like Blue Dragon 5 just said. Sorry, you're right that sometimes it is contracts. I don't see how it is with somebody that only has what is in their library. Like, why would there ever be contractual issues if you're Disney and you have everything you own, or your or your HBO or your Warner's and everything you own?
I guess I misheard you. I didn't hear the HBO Max thing. I was thinking of Netflix, when Netflix loses stuff and it comes and goes all the time.
No, with Netflix that's obnoxious, and there it is hard to say how much of that is contracts, and their contracts are all over the place. They have 3-year contracts, they have 1-year contracts. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully HBO will cut that out if there's whenever they get settled down, and I don't know.
But yeah, I guess that's a tactic that I would throw out. One thing that drives me crazy is and I've mentioned this before, but I hate the way I want to know what percentage of the show has been technically ranting. I don't like how Amazon works with Apple, this is a dirty pool tactic. So if you buy something through Apple, they will, if you're paying for a subscription service, any kind of subscription service, they make sure that if you bought it on an Apple product, you can only use that device to unsubscribe from it, or you have to go through iTunes. Sometimes it's iTunes, and I feel like I've had that before, where it's like you had to use the particular device you subscribed. Like, we don't have that device anymore. What if it broke or something? I don't know if that's happening as much now, but the iTunes thing is definitely an issue, where like you have to go specifically through that program in order to unsubscribe. That's like unconscionable to me. You should be able to unsubscribe any way you want to unsubscribe. Like this day and age, there should be a link that you go to on anything, desktop device, anything, and you press a cancel button. And if you don't have that, it's wrong. Like, that's how I feel about it. It used to be like there were companies that would make you call a telephone number to unsubscribe. We're about 5 years away from my having seen that with anything, and I think we're beyond that now. So it seems pretty standard across the board. There's a button you push that says cancel, but not with Amazon and iTunes, and that bothers me. I don't like that, because I have a couple things that, because I haven't been able to get into, and I won't get into it, but like I can't get into my iTunes account, like for whatever reason, like I can't get to it, and so there is at least one subscription that I've been paying for 2 years that I've not been using because I cannot cancel it. Like, it's not possible. Wow. They're just taking money out of my account every month. There's no way to cancel it.
Jeez, I haven't even heard about that. That sounds insane.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, I don't know if Apple's going to be in the game very long. Their streaming service isn't doing well, I don't think. But moving on. Someone said Disney Plus charging $30 for Mulan. They don't want that practice to continue.
Yeah, I didn't feel the need to bring that up because it looks as if it's backfired on them, and I doubt if they'll ever do that again.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, hopefully. Josh,
or at least I say that. I mean, we don't know what the numbers are, but I heard an analyst the other day suggest that if the numbers had been good, they would have published them, and I think I agree with that. I don't know, just with the climate surrounding that film and all the controversy with the way they dealt with the Chinese government and all that, which I won't get into, it's very unlikely that actually worked out well for them. There's no way they came close to making their money back with that. And it didn't have the opening weekend in China that they expected it would, so.
Yeah. Josh Golisano, do you think the animated What If show could set a precedent for serious animated shows on Disney+?
Let's wait and see how serious that show is, yeah? I want to think that is going to be I'm expecting their live action shows where they'll probably have some of that Marvel comedy, but more or less they're intended to be watched by everybody, and they're telling stories and they're for adults, and that they're just animating it because that's really the only way you can do that show. But I don't entirely trust that. I think there's every potential that show ends up being a lot kiddier than anybody is expecting. I hope I'm wrong about that. And I'm not even saying that that I'm predicting that I'm expecting that. I'm just saying that it wouldn't completely surprise me. I could see them being dumb and doing something a little bit kiddier than what we're expecting. Hopefully that's not the case. So if it is what we're all hoping it is, then yeah, maybe. I mean, hopefully so.
Yeah, and that's a show that I think should do the Disney Plus model and go week to week because they're not related at all. And I would kind of like them to just be shorts. Like, I'm going to watch a short about Captain America.
That's an anthology show, yeah. That's essentially a 20-minute movie every week. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would assume that if that goes well and they consider and they take it seriously and they go, okay, we can get away with more serious animation, the next place they'll go is another Star Wars thing, probably. Would be my guess.
TH1, how does that apply to movies that you're in, DJ? I don't know what he's talking about.
How does what apply? I guess it's been too long since we...
It's been so long.
We take a little while to get to super chats and even pre-written.
Clarify in the chat, Tom, unless that was just kind of a joke question. But yeah, clarify, and I'll try to give you some clarity on that. I don't know. I mean, I've only been in one, obviously, so he has to be talking about Homecoming, but I don't know what we were talking about at the time.
Yeah, you got to give us a little more context because we might get 30, 40 minutes away from the super chat.
But I'll
we're
talk.
trying not to do that as much as possible, but we also like to get our hands dirty a little bit and get a little nitty gritty sometimes. So
Yeah, just let me know specifically what you were talking about there. John Ty, why do fans hate the things they love?
because they get really passionate about things, and because they end up with with high expectations and sometimes high standards for things. I used to have new folks come to my old Star Trek club and get to the end of a meeting and go, "Do you guys even like Star Trek? Like, all you do is just rip it apart." And I'm like, "Well, you came for a lot of mediocre episodes, of which there are a lot of in Star Trek. But yeah, like." You tend to be, it's like families, right? I mean, like, it's like dysfunctional families. Like, you tend to be harder on the things you really care about, which is how you can tell that I don't hate Brandon.
It's a really good analogy. Wow.
Yeah.
Be emotional over here, Cal. Too bad Brandon's not here for that sweet moment.
And it can get unreasonable, of course. People can get so like set in their ways about things that they're not open-minded, and they don't want to allow things to stretch their legs and to be and try new things and take risks. You do get into that, like, I just want a thing to play its greatest hits problem sometimes, where it's like, if you would just, this analogy, if you would just let a band or an artist like do what he really wants to do and be open-minded and let him win you over, you might get his best work. But if you just force him to make the same album 16 times, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get to the 16th one and go, God, it all sounds the same. Yeah, and it's your fault that it all sounds the same, because you wouldn't buy it if it didn't. So, like, that can also be a problem. Like, and I think to some degree we're all guilty of this. Like that's a real hard line to walk, right? Like, I want I want REM to sound like REM, but I also don't want them to like sell out and just make the teeny bopper music. So, like, it's like that with everything.
Mm-hmm. So he did clarify in a super chat. Thanks, Tom, for doing that. You didn't have to do that, but it makes perfect sense now. He says about not liking spoilers about movies you're going to see.
Oh, I've made fun of him for this forever, where it's like, you are the last person that should be an extra in a film.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the next Marvel Mania. Quick plug for that. We're doing Spider-Man Homecoming next. But that was weird because I learned things on set that weren't even in trailers yet. There wasn't even a trailer when we shot that, and so I learned that Shocker was in it. Spoiler alert. And like before we had even had the secondary villain announced and stuff. So yeah, that was a really weird situation for me. I knew the ending with Liz because somebody that I was hanging out with, she was in that scene in the principal's office where she's telling them that she's leaving schools at the end. So yeah, I knew way too much about that movie that I didn't really like that experience, but it was a once in a lifetime experience. So that's the exception to the rule. That's not going to happen ever again. That I know of. Welder series coming soon. Josh Golisano back again.
To Disney Plus.
The animated Welder series. Hard R animated Welder series. Josh Golisano. DJ, have you seen?
We're going to get Gendy Tartakovsky.
Just burning people everywhere. Just burning people alive with his blowtorch.
I didn't expect the Welder series to be in sepia tone.
I don't know how blowtorches work. Maybe I can use it like a lightsaber and just like saw people's arms off. I don't know. I've only used the blowtorch once, and it was in that scene.
Do you want that sound effect for it too? Or you just, when the welder kills people, you just hear.
I like this. I like that I've been on the show long enough that people are asking me specific questions. Next one is another one from
Stephen Murphy. Stop announcing things.
I don't think Disney Plus cares if I announce things. Josh Colisano asked me, DJ, have you seen any more of Curb Your Enthusiasm? Yes. I think we're on season 5 at this point. Or maybe starting season 6. We just finished the finale of either season 5 or season 4, where it goes kind of too crazy for me. He like dies at the end and goes to heaven, and the show is like a super, like, I don't know, down to earth, like realistic, like just kind of everyday life sitcom kind of show. So that was really weird for me. I think that went a little too far for me, but yeah, we're watching it. We're still watching it. We watch it at night when we are feeding my daughter. We watch like an episode at like 5 a.m. when we wake up. So yeah, I'm still watching it, still liking it. I'll talk to you about it soon. Next one is a $20 super chat from Billy the Kid Lawrence. The CW should bring back Hartley Sawyer as Ralph Dibny on The Flash. He made bad jokes, but almost a decade ago. Didn't deserve to be fired when he already redeemed himself. Hashtag here for Hartley and hashtag rehire Hartley Sawyer on Twitter. You're muted, Cap. Cap, I can't hear you. Cap, can you hear me? Are you muted?
Oh, I'm muted? Oh, okay. I didn't even hear you. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna start the whole section.
Okay. I kept trying to get in, and I didn't know if
You're too polite. I just heard you like it sounded like you were like half cutting out. It was just like, all right, Cap. You should just say, "You're muted. Stop talking." And then I'll know. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure we covered this briefly when it first happened. That's the guy who was playing the elongated man in the Flash. And he and I watched like the first half of that season, so I saw him some, and he was fine. Like he didn't. I also agree. Not looking super deep into it, but it seemed what little I know about it to look like that James Gunn situation. I don't think he deserved to get fired. I don't think he's a particularly great actor or anything, but he didn't deserve to lose his job over that. I don't think. So, yeah. So I mean, I agree. That's the kind of cancel culture I'm talking about when I say that whole thing has gone too far. And again, for the record, from folks that have responded to my kind of calling out the cancel culture thing, I'm not talking about the Harvey Weinsteins. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this kind of thing when somebody is is canceled and not given a second chance, or even worse, was given a second chance and then we backpedaled on it. Or is like we've already let this guy prove himself. Seems like he did that, but now retroactively we've decided that we're going to be even less tolerant of some of these like terrible jokes and tweets and things than we were in the past, and maybe sometimes we should be. I'm not saying that we don't naturally culturally sometimes change our sensibilities for the better, or that some of that stuff shouldn't be tolerated, but when it's that far back, when it's really retroactive, when somebody has already, apologized for a thing, when they've proven with their actions, not just with their words, as much as they can in a public forum, what their actual character is, why are we going back to old tweets and blogs and things and saying we should pretend like these people don't exist because they ever thought a particular way? They cancel everybody then. Let's just all stop doing things at that point. We can't. None of us can stand up to that to that kind of scrutiny. Overall, maybe we didn't say certain things publicly, but we've all thought and said things that would legitimately offend a person to the point of making them question our character. Or at least I'll speak for myself. I probably have done that. I would imagine the majority of us have done that in some area. And so, no, it's preposterous, it's wrong, it needs to stop happening. It seems like the majority of people are not accepting of that, just like they weren't accepting of the initial tweets in the first place, though. People don't like this. The majority of people don't think that's right and that's fair and that it's reasonable. And whenever it happens, even the kind of relatively smaller examples like this, people get really up in arms about it, because I guarantee you the majority of people that are coming out to bat for this guy probably didn't watch The Flash while Elongated Man was on, because who the heck is still watching that show? And I bet the majority of people that are calling out Warner Brothers for this, the CW for this, don't even know who that guy is and what his acting is. It's a matter of principle, and I agree with that. So.
Two left. John Ty, as a critic, how do you establish the idea of thinking for yourself when people want to use critics to validate their own opinions or use them as an arbiter of truth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's easy to get, commenters and viewers criticisms and like mindsets that you don't agree with kind of in the back of your mind sometimes when you're reviewing things. The thing it does to me most is it makes me, DJ, over explain things. Because much of the time what ends up happening, yeah, you do have that validation issue, and I've talked about that. You also have the issue sometimes of people hearing the very beginning or the very end of a sentence, or not hearing something you said in the broader context, and taking leaps and jumping too far and not getting what you were actually really saying. And I tend to overcompensate for that by trying to constantly get out ahead of stuff and go, before you jump all over me, I'm not meaning what it's initially going to sound like I am. Pay attention to the whole rest of the paragraph. Now, I shouldn't do that, and I shouldn't have to do that. But it's really easy to subconsciously get to that place, like not even thinking about it, where you just kind of default, like naturally go to. Okay, I already know what the criticisms are going to be, and so I have to address them sometimes before I've even made a point. That's the biggest mistake I make, and the really easy thing to happen to me. I think it's difficult to say how much influence the validation thing really has on a creator, and of course, it's different for all people. It's hard to say how much it has on me. When I get blindsided by something like the Ragnarok review or the Last Jedi review, where there were a lot of people up in arms that I just didn't have the same opinion that they did, to the point where people will assume that you're being disingenuous about it. Will assume that your heart's not in the right place, and that you're not actually stating your opinion so much as you have some kind of agenda, and that's why you're saying that. How could you possibly hate the thing I loved? It was great. It was objectively great, and you know that, and you wouldn't be saying this if you weren't attacking me personally, or the film, or the people who made the film for some reason. You'll just have to take my word for it, or don't take my word for it. I don't care. I don't do that. I've never been paid by any company to say anything. Look how small my subscriber count is. Why would anybody do that? Yeah, I've never done that. I'm not disingenuous about this. The only place where I feel like I can get a little bit disingenuous is when I let that get to me a little bit. Because what I do tend to do is I'm open-minded, I think, and I think about that stuff, even if it makes no sense to me at the time, even if it seems totally unreasonable to me at the time. I went back to Dark Knight Rises like 4 or 5 times in the theater. I read the novelization. I did research on how the movie was made, all while the movie was out in theaters. Did everything I could to figure out what was wrong with me, because that movie didn't work for me. Because people thought I was disingenuous. People were like, "How dare you? What you're saying is incorrect." And I'm like, no, I think I just don't agree with you, and I was like, maybe I'm missing something. And I legitimately did everything I could to figure out what the problem was with me as opposed to the film. And it's not me, it's the film. And if you love that movie, that's great. And there's a lot of things to like about that movie, but it has huge issues, characterization wise and motivation wise. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, and it's been 8 years now, and I don't know how that is, but I don't know how it's been this long, that Eric and I have been trying to figure this movie out for 8 years. But I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I try to look at all angles of things. And if people say, "Cap, you're not understanding this movie, you're not looking at it right," I have a hard time not taking that to heart. And sometimes my mind is changed, and I think sometimes legitimately it's changed, where maybe there is something I'm missing, or maybe I was there's different. There's like a different situation when I see it later. I'll go back in, and sometimes it's a mood thing, sometimes it's an atmosphere thing, and sometimes there's the movie maybe wasn't making something clear enough, so it's still on the movie. But now that I know that, it's a little bit better. Stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna affect different people different ways. I don't want to sit here and pretend like it doesn't affect me, because it does. And I tried not to let it drop my standards. But I don't ignore everything. I think the bigger risk for me is dropping my standards. The bigger risk is listening to that enough where I go, where I give something so much of another shake that I maybe am now too lenient on it. I think I can sometimes do that. Sometimes, but like I try not to just completely ignore it, because sometimes people are right, you know. I don't love it when people when I do a spoiler cast, and if I go back and listen to that, like after watching the movie a few more times, I can tell that like I understood what was happening in the movie, and people like to come back and try to explain the whole film to me and go like, well, Cap, you just weren't paying attention. Here's what happened in the movie, because execution is as important as concept. So sometimes it's like, yeah, I get what the movie was saying it was doing. It just didn't work for me. Like sometimes people don't understand the nuance of that. But anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes it's impossible to not let that affect you negatively. Like this kind of goes along with what you were saying earlier about berating someone for not having seen like a cultural touchstone TV show. But like what you're saying in the Ragnarok comments of like yelling at you and like you're on, it's almost impossible to not let that affect your viewing of the movie next time. It's like you kind of, I mean, we all have a little bit in us to be like, well, now I don't even want to try to like this movie because the people are being so terrible about it, you know? And you don't want that. Obviously, you want to be as completely as objective as possible.
And not even that for me so much as I don't want to keep defending it against people that are being unreasonable. You know what I mean? Because like we can have a difference of opinion. You can think I'm just flat out, you know, wrong about, you know, my opinion of that, where like you think you saw a movie that was different than I did, but I don't think it's fair to attack my character. I don't understand that. And I've had that with at least 3 or 4 movies where your character will get attacked, and I'm like, I don't understand how anything I said was offensive. I just like it's if it's wrong of me to not validate your opinion or tell you or like let you hear what you're thinking right back to you, then I need to quit my job, because it's impossible to do that for all people. We don't all agree on stuff. It's not possible.
And you know, all of those people that were complaining about you have some classic movie that everyone loves that they don't like. And it's like, it's the same thing. I don't know. Anyway.
I also get why it's, this got heavy, but I don't know, you asked, so, you know. I also understand why, to be fair, it's disappointing when somebody that you like to listen to or that you might trust and respect their opinion says the exact opposite of what you were thinking going into a movie. I get why it's easy to get defensive about that, or why it would just be really disappointing. But I think, like, maybe this is too bold of me to say, I think I deserve the benefit of the doubt. I've been doing this for 11 years, and I don't go into things wanting to hate them. Like, if anything, my standards are so low for things that I'm expecting I'm not going to like, I tend to turn around and like them more than I ought to. Like, that's more often what happens with bad movies with me. And so, like, you know, I've had this with, like, Mike from Red Letter Media, where there have been times where he's reviewed things where I really thought that he and I probably lined up, and then we didn't, and it might be something that I really liked, and I kind of feel like dumb or like a prude or something, or excuse me, like a plebe or something, for liking it when he takes kind of like the intellectual high road of like, no, thinking people shouldn't like this, and I'm a thinking person, I kind of like that, you know, but I'm not questioning his character because he's just speaking his mind, and I trust that he's speaking his mind, and I'm just trying to say that that's all I do. That's 100% of my job. Like, that's all I do. It's certainly what I try to do.
Well, plug for Marvel Mania again, because guess what's right after Homecoming? The next one, Ragnarok.
Have fun doing that by yourself.
He's just gonna throw me under the bus.
No, we're gonna do it. We're gonna have a good time. I gotta tell you, this kind of thing has sometimes made me want to not comment on anything right when it comes out, because of course that's when people are most defensive, and I've never had that kind of reaction on a rewind, interestingly enough. Like, I've never had a rewind just get like super totally panned, where it's like half the thumbs are you know, negative or something, because it's past the point where people are like passionately upset about it. It's people have moved on, and so there's still some of those people there, but it's not like it was opening weekend. And so there are days where I'm like, I should just be a retro channel, but it's also but it's also fun to talk about things, right when they come out. And it helps my process. Like, me making a video like this where I just spitball trying to decide what I think about a thing on camera for hopefully your viewing pleasure. Then down the road, when I do the rewind, I've given it a lot of thought. And if I don't do that, those are harder to write. So, part of it's selfish. Part of the reason I do the initial review is because it makes it easier to do the more thought out written review down the road.
All right, well, we have completed the super chats. I'm scrolling back up.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
To the pre-writtens. I'll ask a couple of these, if you don't mind.
Do it. Yes. We need to not shaft the pre-written folks.
Mutale, Cap, and DJ, to get completely off topic.
Yeah.
If you could become a god, lowercase god, like Greek mythology type thing here, what would you want to be the god of?
Ooh, that's fun.
Like, yeah, like if you know how they have like specific. Would you be the Mountain Dew god?
Not anymore. No, I've kind of gotten past that in my life. Yeah, I haven't drank Mountain Dew in 2 years. I would be.
God of what?
I'd be the god of critical thinking, DJ.
I was gonna say the god of language.
Yeah, I'd be the critical thinking god. I'd come down and smite people for being all or nothing about everything.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have to pick some elemental thing? That's very difficult.
Oh, it has to be an elemental thing. Oh, are you saying that are you saying that my answer doesn't count?
No, I guess there's like the god of what, like drunkenness or something.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't. Yeah, so it could be something like very specific. So yeah, why not? There you go. There's your answer, Mutale.
What would you be the god of? I'm pretty sure he put your name in there.
The god of color coding.
Devontae Brown says he had a super chat that you missed.
Oh, well, I will try to find that. It may have not.
Demerit.
I'll have to pull up the other screen, but let me ask you one real quick.
The Dragon 5 says you're the god of welding.
Yes. Oh, yes. The god of welding has no idea how to weld.
Or the god of fitness. You could be the god of bland eating.
Yeah. Yeah, the god of nutrition. Is that a thing?
Ooh, nutrition god. No, but it should be. I think that sounds like a very 21st
century. Everybody ate
century
healthy because it was just
god.
You had to eat things that grew out of the ground. So there wasn't processed food. The god of processed food. There you go. Well, here we go. This is about you. This is sci-fi. So I'll ask this to you.
The god of moderating.
That's pretty good. That's to don't try to boost my ego. I know I'm not that good. William Parcell. We've seen that people quickly reject bad superhero and sci-fi films. So why do you think it took so long for Transformers to start losing money?
If Eric was here, he would say the answer to that is China. That country gave that franchise so much money, and I don't know what the discrepancy is. I'd have to go and look at the numbers. I've never looked this up, but apparently there's a pretty wide discrepancy between what those movies do overseas and what they do here, or at least what they did up until that last one. Not Bumblebee, but the one before it, because I don't think it did nearly as well. It was that something Night. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think that honestly just has a lot to do with overseas, and yet it still performs a lot better than it ought to. I've never understood that. The cream does not always rise to the top. I think overall it tends to more than not. Like things that just the majority of us can agree are really poorly written and devoid of substance. Don't tend to do as well as things that are, but there are lots of exceptions to that, and most of them are in children's entertainment. Yeah, The Last Night, that's what it was. OAW Entertainment says Japan loves robots. Yeah, if you're just hankering for robots and that's all you got, I guess you'll go.
Yeah.
Hankering for robots. That's gonna be the name of my next album.
Hankering for robots. So I don't know what.
You can't find it?
The live dashboard is just like blank for me. I don't know.
Oh, weird.
Because I can't get into the classic anymore. I have to go to the.
Yeah, and the new one doesn't give you the super chat area like the old one did, unless there is one somewhere that I just don't know about. If somebody Devontae Brown, don't feel the need to put in another super chat, but if somebody can, finds it before we do, just post it in the comments.
Oh, I got it.
We'll go and
I got it right here.
Did you find
Sorry,
it?
I thought it was an early one, but it was just the last one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
After we started talking
right.
about the rewritten. So yeah.
I do wish. That's the only thing I don't like about this new setup is I can't. It doesn't have a section for all the super chats.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had it right here. I just we started talking about the pre-writtens, and it was at the very bottom. Hey Cap, how come you don't really talk about Amazon's The Boys? It's been a hit and a great superhero and Hollywood satire. Week to week seems to work.
Because I haven't watched it and I don't want to, and I will probably finally sit, just because of freaking peer pressure, I'll probably finally sit down and watch that. People say great things about it. I am just tired of cynical superhero stuff, man. Like it might be wonderful. I'm just tired of it. I need to get in the right mindset and mood for that kind of thing. I think if I sat down and watched it right at this moment, I may not appreciate it as much as I should, because I have an attitude problem when it comes to that. We've been inundated with that kind of thing, and it doesn't immediately appeal to me. So I'll finally do it at some point, because I hear nothing but good things, but it just doesn't immediately interest me. There was a time where I reviewed every superhero show and movie and film that came out, and we got so inundated with them, and the quality dipped so hard with a lot of them that I got to where, just for the sake of my sanity, I couldn't watch everything, and so I don't have that policy anymore. I don't review everything when it comes out. We're to a point now where I could drop every show I'm doing and only review superhero things. Now, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about like movies, television, video games, and I still couldn't do all of it, especially if I was going episode to episode. But even season to season, I think it would be pretty difficult to keep up with everything. This is just one genre, and what years ago I used to call a subgenre, and it would be more of a full-time job than what I'm doing right now. So I don't want to promise it, but I get so many requests for it.
New one just came in. Josh Galisano, are you guys aware of the Invincible animated show? It looks really innovative and cool, but I hear no one talking about it.
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment by somebody. Would you read that one more time?
Yeah, sure.
I apologize.
Are you guys aware of the Invincible animated show? It looks really innovative and cool, but I hear no one talking about it. I'm not aware of it.
And that kind of thing is happening so much. Yeah, to the point we made an hour ago now, stuff is getting so buried. Like, you're gonna see so many more like hidden gems, or see so many more like hidden gems videos over the next decade about specifically television than you ever did before. It's gonna be like retro video games, right? Where it's gonna be like, there's so much stuff that came out. Here's the things that are genius that nobody ever talked about, that probably should have won Emmys and stuff. I either didn't know about that or I'd forgotten about it. I feel like I heard rumblings that when that was announced, but didn't even know it was out. And Invincible's a thing that I've always meant to read, but I've just never gotten around to. There's a one-shot. Well, actually, I think that 100th issue thing with Invincible meeting the Tick. I've not even read that. But that's the thing that Eric and I threatened to review a lot, and we never got around to.
Threatened to review. Yeah. Just looking at an article on it, it seems like it looks like, anyway, that they're very comic accurate with their designs, which is cool. I don't know if we've ever had. I know some of maybe the DC things kind of mimicked the art style, but like, that's cool. I would love something that's like taken right off the page almost.
Can you screen share it real quick?
I don't. Yeah, it's just like a.
I just thought if you had it up already, you could show it to us, but.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff on my screen.
Oh, don't. Oh, you know what? I forgot about the way you were set up. Forget it. Never mind. It's fine.
It's just a picture of the characters.
It's fine. I'll do it.
It's not anything. I don't know if it's even like that big of an article. That's just the first thing that came up when I typed it.
What else?
I'll go back. That's the last super chat that I'm aware of. Yeah, that's the last one that just came through. But that's interesting.
I'll look at this later. I can't immediately tell if what I'm seeing is even from the comic or that show, which probably tells you how close
that's
it
the
is.
same thing I have. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Daniel Davis. Hey Cap, do you think there's too much content out there on streaming? Some of it hurts my head just thinking about it.
I actually answered that earlier. That was the comment that I was wanting to read.
Okay.
Yeah. I just did, but I'm glad that you gave him credit because I didn't know who it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Davis. Kellen O'Rourke, how do you guys feel about another live action? Oh, I wanted to talk about this tonight. I'm glad this came up.
Yeah.
How do you feel about another live action Lion King coming out?
Oh no! Yeah. Somebody sent me a message about this earlier today. I've not looked into it, so if this is inaccurate, somebody let me know. But what I heard was that it's supposed to be a prequel that focuses on the early days of Mufasa.
Oh no!
Who cares?
What?
Why do I need that? And if you have to do that, for the love of God, recast.
Oh, they have to.
For the
You can't
love
have
of
young
God.
Mufasa sounding like a 70-year-old man.
Please don't do that. But like, it was the only thing they wouldn't recast last time, so I don't trust that. I don't trust Disney with anything. You know what? The last thing you do, and you know what drives me most crazy about this? It's not that I don't want more live action freaking Lion King. It's not that Disney is still making more of this kind of crap instead of trying some new things and not just constantly going back to the well. It's that, you know why they announced it now, right? It's gotta be because these companies keep doing this to try to distract us from controversy. It's like people can't stop talking about the controversy with Mulan, so they're going to try to divert our attention by announcing another one of these live action spin-offs or remakes. We keep seeing this, and Disney's already done it with stuff where they're just hoping that you'll stop looking at the negative news surrounding them, so they just start announcing things. That is one of the things that most drives me crazy right now. I could be wrong about that. That might not be their motivation. Call me cynical. I think it is. But ever since CBS started doing that with Star Trek, just announcing stuff that will never get made, and this will get made, but just announcing whatever to try to make it look like people care more about their properties than they do, or to distract you from stuff that they don't want you to be thinking about. I hate it. It just drives me insane anytime something like this happens. God, stop announcing things.
Yeah, how in the world is this going to work? You want me to read this quote? I got the article pulled up. He says,
Yeah,
they're keeping the log line under wraps, but I'm told that the story will further explore the mythology of the characters, including Mufasa's origin story. Moving the story forward while looking back conjures memories of The Godfather Part 2, set on the African plain with the continuation of the tradition of music. That was a key part of the 1994 animated classic. How are they going to make any songs for this movie?
That single line should be the thing that prevents anybody from wanting to see it. If you've watched any of and I've missed a couple, but if you've watched any of the live action remakes of their classic beloved animated catalog, the one thing we can probably all agree on, or most of us can agree on, I don't want to make a blanket statement, that they do not know how to do is get the people to write good new music that fit in these movies. I liked Beauty and the Beast more than most people. The new songs in that movie were freaking horrible. Both of them. Made me want to gnaw my own hand off in the movie that I was otherwise really enjoying. They're really bad at it. And then, so they're going to make a whole new Lion King movie that is going to be a stupid prequel thing after they've already done that in animation, and they're gonna give it, I'm sure, really crappy, horrible, sappy songs, and I bet it'll be like Aladdin, where it's like from 19 different musical styles, none of which remotely go together, because that's another thing they tend to do. So
it's really hard to, it's not gonna match, man. It's really hard to get back in. I mean, we didn't even like the new musical versions of the old same songs.
Mufasa, a Lion King story. As always, you can make anything work. You just got to make it work. But remember, you've got to come at it for the right reasons. That's like the definition of a cash grab thing. And just the fact that you would announce that sort of thing right after your last live action remake just completely crashed and burned is preposterous. You should at least wait a while before you mention any more of these things. But yeah, you could do a cool political thriller sort of thing, dealing with the politics of kingship in Lion King. I guess you can do that. That needs to be a thing that gets greenlit because somebody turns in a script and goes, okay, I know this sounds counterintuitive. You probably wouldn't want to do a Lion King prequel, but the script is really freaking good. We should make it. And I guarantee you, I mean, 99.9% positive, That is not how that went down. That is backwards, right? Somebody at that studio goes, how can we milk more money out of a thing that just made $1.5 billion? Let's find someone to write this, this prequel idea script that is anyway. I'm just running off with myself right now. I hate that. I'm
at least interested to see how the public is going to respond to that, because they haven't done that yet. They haven't done a completely original story with just hinging on they've just been doing the beat for beat remakes. So
that's not true. They did it with Maleficent. It's one of the first things they did, and it was terrible. And that is not what you want from this kind of stuff. Like, that's the thing they're worst at, is this sort of thing. That's also what the Cruella de Vil movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be something kind of like that.
Yeah, but those are at least reimaginings. This is like just all new territory. Like, there's no version of this that we have. This is all new. So it's not going to do as good as a remake of The Lion King, because that's what those people go to see the movie for, is just to see what they already know. So,
yeah, there's no way that comes from an inspired place, right?
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to do. I'm sure people will see it, but
as always, I hope I'm wrong. But I'm not going to be wrong. Not based on a track record.
Yeah, lately. I don't even know if I hope. Even if it's amazing, I don't care about a Mufasa prequel. Like, I don't care. I don't need that. It could be Godfather Part 2. I don't even know if I want to see it.
Stephen Murphy, they're doing a Gaston and LeFou show. Oh man, really? I mean, I like that guy. I thought he was great, but don't do that. Just stop it. You know what it is? You know what it is? They're dancing around a Disney shared universe. That's what it is, right? They're trying to make that whole thing happen without actually crossing dimensions. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make that at some point. But
yeah. They've always been doing this. Like, there was a stupid animated series that went along with every Disney movie that came out in the 90s. Like, I'm surprised they haven't been doing TV shows on Disney Plus with that kind of stuff. But I don't want to watch that either. That sounds...
William Parcell says, how the hell do you make Cruella de Vil sympathetic? She literally tries to murder puppies. Well,
hundreds of them.
What I'm going to assume is that they're going to do the same stupid thing they did with Maleficent, which, by the way, was one of my most hated, 10 most hated movies of last decade, and make the whole thing somehow a misunderstanding. Can we not end on this note?
I think that's a good place to end it. It's very on brand for us.
It's not, though. I'm gonna keep the stream going until you ask me something else. It's not that.
Okay. Anybody got any positive questions? I'm gonna look. I don't know what Cap just saw.
I know. I just love that. You got this whole. I'm sure there's a bunch of pre-written we haven't gotten to. I just love the idea that you're looking at a list of questions and you're just okay. Anybody got any positive questions?
Well, I'm looking through. I mean, I'm looking at the list, but if anyone's got something.
Oh, that's spectacular. Okay. Well, I guess we can end on that note. This really defines the show this evening. This is really indicative of what the show has been like this evening.
I think it's been a good show. What do you guys think? I like talking streaming with this guy. That's why we made a whole show about it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm glad that we got to cover as much ground with the whole streaming topic as we did, because I didn't expect that to take over the show like it did. But I was kind of hoping maybe it would, so that was great.
Yeah, it was good. Kellen O'Rourke said Marvel supposedly getting control of Daredevil next month. Is that true? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that was coming up soon, but I didn't know what the timeline was. So, yeah, I mean, and you can expect an announcement for that pretty soon, especially because Disney doesn't want you to be thinking about the controversy with Mulan. Somebody earlier asked me what that controversy is. I really don't want to get into it, but you just go look it up. It has to do with Disney making a deal with China to shoot in places where there are known concentration camps. So just look into that. It's pretty messed up. It has to do with the Uyghurs and stuff. I don't want to talk about it, but go look it up. It's pretty screwed up.
Yep. So let's end on it because it's a bit of a downer.
Yeah, let's end on that. All right, well, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. We'll see you again on Thursday. I'm going to have my good buddy Alexi on the program, and I don't know if we're going to have a particular topic or if we're just going to do another Ask Me Anything show and see what comes up. He is a fountain of knowledge, particularly about science fiction and literature, but pretty much everything in pop culture. He's been a literary publicist for a long time, and a really good friend of mine, and I've been meaning to have him on the show for a long time, so we're gonna do it on Thursday.
I've never met him. That's cool.
Have you not?
I haven't, and he's gonna immediately hate me for being on your side with the Edible States title debate.
Oh man, I hope that doesn't come up. I'm pretty sure at this point he knows that I changed it despite his recommendation. But,
I won't say anything.
Yeah, I ask for his literary advice all the time, and we've talked about doing stuff together, and yeah, he fought me on that title forever, and I didn't want to change it. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks a whole bunch for watching. Oh, John Ty, finally super chat. We'll do this real quick. How to be a nice person in a cynical world. We're in the show here. I appreciate it.
We can spin this to be positive. We can spin this to be positive. Maybe he was trying to give us a positive way to end the show.
Oh, he's a little late, though. Is the thing. No, thanks a bunch, John. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult. I don't think, though, that there needs to be a direct correlation between, it's hard, but I think a good way to live is to have your principles and live by them, despite how the rest of the world is acting. Like, if you're a better person than I if you can go through your day with everybody talking negatively about everyone else and nobody ever shaking your hand, or, I mean, not in the corona world, but nobody ever shaking your hand or saying hello to you in public and still treating people the way you want to be treated. I mean, that's the way we should all be as well as humanly possible. So, like, there shouldn't be, it's difficult, but there shouldn't be a direct correlation between you acting properly and the rest of the world being on fire, because how are we going to put out that fire if we all just choose to be like everything that's not working, right? Like, you gotta live on your own terms to the best of your ability. It's the only way we get out of crisis. It's the only way we improve ourselves as a species and move forward. So I think I think the answer to that is, well, I don't know, but it's important. We need to be doing that.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Well said. Perfect ending.
All right, folks, we'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan. That was DJ Martinez. And we'll see you again on Thursday. Lots more cool stuff coming on the channel, so stay tuned for stuff. Later, folks.
Jim is worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it.